Appreciate it. Thank you.
We need more meth heads in the world. You hear me?
Please. Thank you. I'll ask again if there's anyone else from the audience that wishes to be heard on this applicant. Please. State your name and your address.
I'm Brett Zingaro. I was born and raised in 20 Barrett Place, right up the road there. I just wanted to make sure, on behalf of my mom, and I'm sure all the people that live in the area, I just want to say that, you know, in no way is this a personal attack against the applicant and the people involved on the applicant side. It's just a general opposition to the expansion of commercial property in this area because it's such a heavily residential area. And like my mom said, you know, we appreciate the board's consideration with keeping Mahopac Falls more as residential as possible.
Thank you. Anyone else?
It's on there.
Yes, please. Please use the microphone. It's not so much for us as much as it's for the people watching.
During my speech, I had a question about the doors, if we could clarify that at some point.
I was going to ask
Thank
for that,
you.
yeah. Actually, I'd like Adam and the applicant to clarify as much as they can. Adam, several key issues were brought up.
Yep.
Noise, the doors.
Yes.
I want to make sure, I want it to be part of the record that there's not going to be an apartment upstairs one day, you know? That was mentioned also. So there's
Yep.
several things we should respond to.
Absolutely. So it's been stated before, we'll state it again. This again is for long-term dry storage of materials and equipment, not in, you know, things that are coming in and out on a daily basis. Again, the applicant's renting off-site storage units in order to keep things in place for weeks or months. So there will be no increase in traffic as a result of.
So let's just stay with that. I want to be, so we're going to make it part of the record that there is no water, no facilities, and it's not going to be used as an apartment.
If there was going to be water or any wastewater facilities as a part of this building, we would have to apply for permits for that. It would be a condition of your approval for the site plan. There will be no water, you know, potable water or wastewater connections to this building as part of this project. Okay. And there's no intention for it at any point to include an apartment.
Thank you.
Again, for the use that it isn't anticipated, this long-term storage, there will be no associated increase in traffic. The applicant can't control what happens out on the street, but the traffic on his site is relatively minimal, and it will remain as such.
What do we anticipate? You must have a pretty good feel for your business. What do you anticipate the deliveries to be tomorrow compared to today, if this is approved?
So the purpose of the building is to bring tools from my larger job sites, like gang boxes, like large gang boxes, rather than taking them off the site and bringing them to a storage facility. They'll come off the site and then go into these garages. And then they'll be there, and when I need them for another larger commercial project, then I'll take them out. That doesn't happen daily. That happens, you know, twice, 2-3 times a year, depending on the size of the commercial job. We do a lot of large projects. And we have, you know, probably, you know, 12 to 15 like large gang boxes, amongst other equipment, lifts, scaffolding, ladders, tools, large tools, and we need storage for that, and that's the purpose of it. My everyday material is in the one garage that I have down in my existing building, which is daily material that comes in and out. I usually get maybe, a lot would be twice a month. I'll get a box truck that backs off of Myrtle Avenue onto my property, not in Myrtle Avenue whatsoever, where we can offload the material. And on those delivery days, I keep my manpower behind to offload the trucks, and the deliveries are early in the morning, about twice a month. And then, you know, my traffic, like, we leave to go perform plumbing, you know, off-site. All the other businesses in the area, everybody has to come to them, you know, because that's their type of business.
Right. Thank you.
So along the same thread as the traffic, there was a comment about the noise and the doors. These are going to be mechanical overhead doors. Again, given that not going to be going in and out of this building on any kind of regular basis, any associated noise, which I don't think would be much, will be rare. There was a comment about the lighting. We have provided a photometric lighting plan. There's no light spill onto the neighboring properties. The anticipated operation of those lights is that they'll turn on with a photocell, so when the sun goes down, they'll turn on, and they'll automatically turn off. I think we said maybe like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and there will not be motion sensors where they'll be turning on in the middle of the night.
No motion sensors, okay. And it's all downward lighting, right, Rich? All the lighting's got to be downward.
It's got to be by code, yeah.
0 at the property line.
And 0 at the property line. And again, we've provided a photometric lighting plan to model that. And just generally, you know, just the comments about the appearance of the building. The construction of this building is going to be a significant benefit to the appearance of this part of the property, which again is the back of the property, which from Myrtle Avenue will not be particularly visible. But understanding, you know, there are neighbors on the sides. With the landscaping that's been proposed, what is going to be a really nice building compared to the broken down asphalt lot and a big white storage container that's currently at the back of the property, this is going to be a great improvement to the appearance of the back of this property. It's also going to, as I mentioned, there's going to be this double row of trees, which will also be a benefit to the neighbors. So the construction of this project will be in all ways an improvement in the appearance of that part of the property. There had been a comment, I think maybe in one of the letters, about tree clearing that happened previously. I can show you where that is. Back in, let me just show you the site plan.
And please speak a little bit louder.
Yep. So the tree clearing that did happen in this area here was only done because that they had to reconstruct the septic, and that was the approved location by the county. So the tree clearing that happened was here. They actually run septic up to the field that's in that location, and that was the only reason that there were trees cleared at all.
How many trees are you planting as part of this project if this goes through?
1 second. I know I've got oh yeah, here we go. 27 trees. That's a significant investment in landscaping on the part of the applicant, strictly for the enjoyment of the neighbors, essentially.
Questions from the board? Why the height of 25? Oh, you
No.
go. Finish up.
You're much better looking than me, sir. Go ahead.
Why the height of 25 feet?
So this,
I can understand the floor space. I'm struggling
Yeah.
with the height a little bit.
I think I can answer that better because I have 2 box trucks, and a lot of times we outfit our own trucks. So I'll buy a truck brand new, and it's empty, and rather than having to outfit the truck outside, it's always in the middle of the winter because it's always done like usually in January when we buy new equipment. So I wanted to have a 12-foot high garage door, so I can bring a box truck in there and outfit it, and/or a van with racks on it. That's really the main reason. It helps us, and also I mentioned that we have a lot of gang boxes. I wanted to be able to stack them high, because they take up a lot of space and a lot of square footage.
Sure do.
What do you think, John?
25 is probably because we made them do a barn, too, at the highest point of that peak.
So just to add on to that, as Ed mentioned, the main basis for the height of the building is the height that he needs for the overhead doors. The other reason is it comes down to the definition of building height in the code. We've done this pitched roof as really more of an architectural feature rather than anything else. Again, adds to the height. You know, if we could do a simple plain metal building with a flat roof, it wouldn't look as good, but it would be a little bit lower. But that, you know, one wouldn't suit the needs of the applicant and wouldn't look as nice.
Rectify one thing, sorry, sir.
No, I was just going to.
Just rectify one thing for me. I get all that. Looking at this operationally and knowing that we're using this for gang boxes, right? And I know we wish we could use them more because we had that many jobs on a monthly basis. I know firsthand. Downsizing the building, even by a foot, would have zero impact on traffic. Am I right in saying that? Because this isn't an everyday or nearly everyday operational structure. This is your structure for gang boxes, which are not, in my business either, used that much. So just to rectify in my mind to know that we're not impacting traffic, even if we asked, hey, downside the structure, number one, it would hurt what you're trying to do with the structure. But number two, it would have no palpable impact on traffic, correct?
Ed could probably follow up on this, but the answer is
You need a
no.
microphone.
Sorry. My business really doesn't cause any traffic. It really doesn't. It never
I get
has.
that, but just direct, because I need to rectify this because a couple of comments said it, so I need to rectify my brain. Even if we said, hey, downsize this, that wouldn't minimize the traffic anymore. Am I correct in saying that?
No, it would increase it, actually. It would increase it.
You can explain that if
Because
you'd like.
I have more room to put I need as much room as I can possibly, I really wanted 6 garages, is what I really wanted. But, you know, I applied for 3 on his advice. But I really wanted to put 6 up.
Okay.
You're saying that the smaller the garage, the more trips you have to make to take stuff in and out. Is that basically it?
Yes, absolutely.
His stockpile would be
Turn that
less.
picture around so they can see that, please. I'm sorry, Mike.
No, I just said his stockpile would be less, so we'd have to have more deliveries
Yep.
to make up the difference.
I want the audience to see. Yeah, yes, exactly. Yeah. Questions from the board?
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess one more, just for clarity's sake. I'm sorry. I feel like I'm running you through the ringer. I don't mean to. Just for clarity's sake, and I guess, Mr. Vitalis, it's probably better for you. In addition to the boxes, what else are we doing with the structure? What are we storing?
Ed?
I'm sorry. I have lifts that we use on job sites. I have scaffolding. I have concrete tools, which takes up a lot of room. I have 4 core drill machines. I probably have about 12 to 14 hand trucks. We have pipe dollies.
Sure you do. Okay, thank you.
I'd also just, if I can just add on to that, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, we're not requesting a variance for the height of the building. You know, it's within, you know, the applicable codes. Just want to, you know, make sure it's clear. And, you know, understand your questions. It is code compliant. Just want to make sure that's clear.
Before we close the public hearing, is there anyone else that wishes to be heard? Can we have a motion to close?
Mr. Chairman, being that there are no other public comments, I make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pat, what do you think about roll call vote? Would you facilitate it?
Yeah, what are we voting on?
Well, we need a resolution
A
first,
direction,
right?
a resolution of approval, is that what you're
Yeah.
voting? Sure. So on the motion, so someone make a
You
motion.
need a motion first.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to approve the applicant.
The
The what?
we want,
Yeah, yeah. Right, so
we need
so
the
that's a
res-
good point. So all I need is direction to draft the resolution. We'll
Right.
then consider it when the conditions are presented to you.
Okay.
So there's no vote necessary, you just need to
Just a
direct the
resolution.
preparation of that document.
Ray, you'll make a
Thank
motion.
you, Joe.
So I'll make a motion to
Prepare a resolution.
direct Pat to prepare a resolution.
All in favor?
Aye.
Who seconded it?
I'll second.
So just to clarify, you're directing Pat to prepare a resolution approving,
Yes,
okay.
yes,
And then you'll vote on it at the next meeting.
yes.
Fair enough. I just want the public to understand that.
Performance bond and engineering fee.
So we made a motion for Pat Cleary to prepare a positive resolution approving the project, and it'll be voted on at the next meeting. Whether people, we'll do a roll call vote, because I think it's important enough in this, you know. 2 weeks. Something this size, I think,
2 weeks. It's the second Wednesday.
Yes, the second Wednesday in May, where are we, May, April, yeah.
fourth
No,
Wednesday.
we are in 2 weeks. No,
Fourth,
we're-
second Thursday, fourth Wednesday.
Sorry, I just want to make sure I have the date right on it.
We'll get you the date.
23rd.
Correct?
The 23rd.
23rd. Yes. And it'll be listed, if there's anything you're not sure of, give Rose a call in between.
Rich, in the meantime, I'll get you those numbers.
Thank you.
And then we'll do a roll call vote at that meeting.
Thank you.
Nice job with the renderings.
Yeah.
Thank you both. Next on the agenda for site plan is Viola North America, Archer Wells, 9 Colton Road.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Lino Sciaretta, partner with the law firm Blakely Platt Schmidt, White Plains, New York. I'm here this evening on behalf of Veolia. Just by way of background, we were last here, I believe it was a couple of years ago, when we first started this application. One of the main issues back then was the ingress-egress with respect to the site. Just by way of background again, what we're proposing here is...
Let's just, well, I'm sorry, let's just wait 1 second till there'll be more background noise.
There you go. Sure.
Okay, you
We're
can
good?
finish.
I got the room.
You can finish your
It's like
introduction.
my house. I just clear it. You know, my dogs, kids, they all leave when I start talking. But anyway, thank you. So, just to reiterate, we're back here for a proposed water treatment facility, about a 704 square foot GAC facility, which is a granular activated carbon. Veolia is part of their, this project and others throughout the state, because of the new state and EPA regulations, we're required to treat PFAS. So that's what this well is designed to do. To go back what I was stating earlier with the crowd noise, we were last here a couple of years ago. The issue of the ingress-egress of the site was still up in the air. My firm back in 2023 went to Supreme Court in Putnam. I believe you will have a copy of the order. It was an eminent domain. There was a stipulation. The judge so ordered it with respect to the point of ingress and egress, which is off of Archer, which we're showing on the plan. So we finally got that established. Fast forward, we've been to the ECB. ECB approved our wetland and accepted our wetland permit with respect to this application. So we will require some variances on this. I believe we have lot depth, lot width, and also we require 2 ADA variants to this project. So we're hopefully tonight at some point can get referred to zoning board. again, there is some level of urgency with respect to this because we're trying to get potable water online. There is a temporary facility there, but we're trying to make it permanent. So that's where we are. I'll have Ramya, because it's been a while. Ladies, no ladies left, but just gentlemen. It's been a while, so I just want her to go through the site plan just to give you an update of where we are, because again, it's been a couple of years, and just to give you a quick update and an overview of the site plan, if that's okay with you all.
Sure.
Okay.
Hello, good evening.
Thank you.
Ramya Ramanathan from Adzel Nasher Ziegler, planner for the applicant. The last we were here was October of last year, and back then, from a site plan perspective, nothing much has changed. With the ECB, we've had discussions about how to mitigate impact to wetlands. We've come to some agreements. We've submitted our conditions, met the conditions the ECB asked us to do, and that's all done for now. So the pertinent change with respect to the site plan is going to be that we had a dry pond behind the GAC facility when you last saw the site plan set. But subsequently, test holes were conducted, and there was groundwater, so the dry pond didn't really work. And with our meetings with the ECB, they recommended us to have a rain garden and some landscaping for the rain garden, which would work towards mitigating some impact to the wetlands that's happening on this site. So depending on the test hole results, we've moved the drainage mitigation, which is a rain garden, now a little upland, so that we have the distance from the groundwater separation is met. So that's the only technicality that's changed on the site plan. The landscaping plan is still the same. I did see Pat's comments. No additional trees proposed for removal. And I believe we already showed the lot depth and lot width lines that the building inspector wanted to see. That's on the plans as well, denoted. So I believe most of the comments have been addressed, but I'm happy to walk through any other issues if they present.
Okay.
And for the record, we did receive comments from your professionals, so thank you for that.
Great, thank you for the introduction. Mike?
Yeah, my only comment that was left was the lot area variance and the 280A variance required, and I was confused. I thought the lot was came all the way out to Colton, and it is just the circle in the middle with no frontage, so that's what, they cleared that up for me last time, so that's the reason for the 280A. Is there any buffer to the houses that's going to be in place, or is it just what's left?
So at the outset, we wanted to see what the public would want based on because it's I think the nearest distance from the closest residence is 270 feet or something. So we really don't know where the impact is going to be. During summers, it's wooded around. All of this is county. Can I say that, Lino? Yeah. So it's all wooded around us. So, but if the public wants some landscaping, we're open to suggestions. For now, we're proposing the 8 green giants that was a part of the agreement with the farmer, the neighbors. And that's proposed where it was agreed upon, but we read Pat's comments. Of course, that will be taken into consideration. They'll be staggered, and any other additional landscaping, we'll obviously be open to suggestions.
It's fine. It's just hard for us to tell from a flat piece of paper that there's already trees everywhere. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, and
just make sure that it's.
You're right. Landscaping was one of the priorities back
Correct.
then. I still believe it is probably today.
My name is Maria Stepanova. I'm Veolia engineer, and I just want to add that the what we call is farmer's property, where we propose the green giants as a screen, is probably the only one where it might potentially have, and it's in great distance. The rest of them uphill, our small facility is downhill, so if you look out, you'll never see it. So you'll need to look out and way down, and I'm not even sure if it's possible. I've never seen our facility being on top of that hill as we, because our previous access was on foot, down the hill. In winter it was slippery and hazardous, so I'm very happy that we finally have established a legit access road to this, for all purposes. But the residences they look flat, but it really is steep hill, and the only flat point would be close to
the grade drops off there, and just to Maria's point, thank you, Maria. Originally, when this application was proposed, the Veolia was looking to use as part of the eminent domain. The original traveled right-of-way was a dirt path that kind of cut through the farmer's property. And that was the original point that we were going to use because, again, it was already used as like a roadway. But when we filed the eminent domain proceeding, the farmer really didn't want us to use that, and he said, listen, I'd really appreciate it if you can go as close to the property line. That's why in court we came up with that settlement. So we didn't want to go through his property, but we did that because that was on the survey. So we actually moved the road to where it is now, As far as the plantings and all that, one of the things that was part of that agreement, just so the board's aware of it, again, not from a planning perspective, but just so you understand, Veolia did pay the farmer to provide for landscaping screening on his property, because we're in the water business, not so much the landscaping, and the farmer is a landscaper by trade. So, you know, we just said, we'll pay you if you'll just install, again, he's got to do it per code, everything like that, but it was more of just, the judge agreed, it's like, well, it's easier just for you, Veolia, to pay it to the farmer, which we did, and he can install those, you know, that screening and those measures. But I just wanted the board to understand that, that's all.
Just be careful that he does them, because you can't get your bond back unless they're all planted. So
Right.
make
Well,
sure it
we're aware of that.
happens.
Thank you, Mike.
Rich, comments, please?
So the applicant has noted the required referrals and permits, which is DEC for stormwater and wetlands, well treatment system for the county, highway work permit. You should have gotten something for the cut into Archer Road, and you've already been to the ECB for wetlands and received that permit. You know, you need to get an updated SWIP, which is under review and has to meet the new code, so that
It does.
the
Ryan
updated
confirmed.
code. There's easement information that was provided, so I don't know if that's been provided to council to review. And you'll probably have to provide a bond and associated engineering fee for the project. Otherwise, they've addressed over these years all the comments that have been out there.
Thanks, Rich.
Thank you.
And Pat?
Really just two comments with respect to this. You heard reference to the trees, so there's 8, in accordance with that agreement, there's 8 green giant arborvitaes in a straight line. Ordinarily, we wouldn't have done it that way. We would have perhaps varied the species, you know, varied them in some way. So if that's if it's shown on the site plan, it's an enforceable condition. If they die, you'd have to replace them. Mike will never know. He'll never be 500 feet into that site to see if those trees survive. So it's probably a good idea to vary the species a little bit and stagger them so it's more of a natural condition and they have a better shot at surviving. The second issue relates to, they've been to the ECB, they have the local wetland permit, but the new DEC regulations, as I've explained to you, triggers a
You need a JD.
a JD from the DEC. So while, if you so choose to move them off to the zoning board, they can do that as well, and perhaps they don't lose too much time to do that process as well.
Pat, just one question on the JD.
Yeah.
So we went back to our wetland scientist after having read your comment, and they clarified, just wanted to understand the criteria under which this is requiring a JD, because we, at least from a population standpoint, it didn't make the cut for an urban population. But if you have anything more for that, I can let them know.
So your guess is as good as ours. From what we read,
Yeah, January 1st, they changed, so
everything.
we're still trying to figure it out.
Requires the JD.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and the JD may come back and say, we don't have any jurisdiction, we don't care.
Okay.
But there's a 90-day clock that requires you to go through that process, so they may have something to say about this.
Okay, all right.
And by the way, experience has shown us that they are regulating local wetlands these days, so you don't know.
All right, so we'll get in touch with them. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, I believe Pat's comments were right on, especially the way we've been dealing with this for the last couple of years, landscaping. So let's make that part of the plan, what Pat suggested, staggering them, different species.
We can do that.
The applicant before you did a very nice job. I'm sure you saw it. We should look to, maybe not as extensive, that's right, in a residential area. As you mentioned, it's probably not necessary, but let's follow up on Pat's recommendations there.
Sure.
This should get referred to ZBA if possible.
Yeah, I think we can get a couple
think they're
things
ready
done in
for that now.
parallel here today. I just want to open it up to the board to see if you, any questions.
And this is an unmanned facility, right? So you're not
Correct.
expecting truck deliveries or anything? So you have sufficient space to turn vehicles when you do work on it?
Yes, we had to work on the driveway profile a lot, so we did get the turning radiuses in.
And you may want to put some of the trees on, if you are adding trees, before you go to ZBA, because that will probably be a question from neighbors.
Gotcha.
If they get a notice, some of them show up, so.
I think in this case, since it's been around for a while, we can probably get a motion to refer this to the ZBA.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to deny it to the ZBA.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
evening,
you.
good
Have a
weekend.
good evening.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll need to stamp that.
It's like, I have no mercy in my own. People, when it's 2 dogs, they didn't pay attention. But when they need money, though.
Thank you so much. So nice to see you guys.
Thank you, too. Good night.
Thanks, Ray. Next on the agenda is Hudson Hounds, 212 Union Valley Road. Mike, comments, please?
The applicant is operating a residential-based pet care facility, including daycare and boarding, using a pickup and drop-off method off Union Valley Road in Mahopac. Property is in the MDR zoning district. It's a new zone. Pet daycare and boarding is not permitted. Use variance is required. Just a note, up to 60 dogs are present at the site, including daycare and boarding. That was a note that they put on there. Zoning table's incorrect. It's the MDR zone, not the R zone. 40,000 square feet are required, not the 120,000. 100 foot of lot width, not 200 feet, and 100 feet of lot depth, not 200 feet. Their parking calculation, they came up with 4 parking spots. I disagree. I think it's a lot more. There's more than 4 cars there at all the time, not including the house, which would also require parking. There is no kennel or pet daycare in the table, so we need an interpretation from the zoning board to tell us what that parking should be. Provide a detail of the buffer, if any, to the adjacent residential properties, and that's it.
Rich?
So the applicant is requesting site plan approval and a use variance for a pet care facility entitled Hudson Hounds located at 212 Union Valley. The project is subject to a zoning violation for operation without site plan approval. Mike touched upon that. According to what we've been told, no construction is proposed for this use. However, construction has historically taken place, as shown in the comparison plans that were provided as part of the submittal. Referrals would be required to the DEC, DEP, ECB, Putnam County Department of Health, Mahopac Falls Department, and that is for stormwater and wetlands, impervious area near a reservoir or reservoir stem for DEP, Putnam County Department of Health for what we're doing with dog waste, what's going on over there, and ECB for wetlands, because there is a stream that runs adjacent to it, and it was not shown on the drawing what was there. They may be out of the 100-foot buffer, but it's not proven to us right now. They should provide an electronic EAF. The version submitted as part of the application did not provide a response to sections 13 and 15. They should provide a survey separate from the site plan, provide how dog waste is maintained on site. The wetland buffer, as I mentioned, needs to be shown on the drawing, would issue what's going on with any kind of permits that may be required. Traffic vehicle movements on the plan should be provided, standard fare of my comments, graphic representation of vehicles, turning radii, slopes of driveways, light spill plans should be provided, and the need for a performance bond or engineering fee if there's any public improvements, and that would include landscaping.
Thanks, Rich. And Pat, I believe you had some comments also.
Yeah, and many of them related to what Rich and Mike had. I'll note that this is a facility, you heard 60 dogs, it operates 24/7. I believe they indicated they have up to 10 employees. I suppose that's staggered over a number of different shifts and so forth, but it's a significant issue. And that relates to Mike's point about parking. So we don't have a parking requirement. We have to establish a parking requirement, but understanding a little bit more about how parking on the site works is an important situation here. The method by which this operates, and I'm assuming you're going to describe that tonight, pickups and drop-offs, and how that works on the site should be explained. We should understand that well. There are, Mike touched on it, some structures in the backyard that have been built. Do they meet code and so forth? We have to understand about things that have already been built. Additionally, there are tented areas that are proposed, so understanding what those are year-round, do they come down in the winter, what goes on underneath the tented areas, understanding that is important. We need some clarification on things like lighting and waste and so forth. An issue related to this, just sort of underlying everything, is he's been operating for 10 years, I think, something like that, illegally. Now that if we legalize it, how does that change the operation of the use? So for 10 years, was he trying to stay under the radar and keeping it low key, and once we approve it, all of a sudden it's a much more robust operation? I don't know if that's your intention or not, but getting a handle on that is something we need to get on the record so we understand what's going on in the property.
Thank you, Pat.
And I'm sure that's important for the ZBA to know as well,
Yeah.
if they're going to consider this.
Before I open up to the board, because I think they're going to just have as many questions as our consultants, why don't you give us an overview of the project, from how you operate daily to what you're thinking you'd like to do in the future? We just need to know a lot more about this.
Sure. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Michael Ligori. I'm an attorney at Hogan, Rossi & Ligori in Brewster, New York. I'm here tonight with Aaron Posset. Aaron is the owner of Hudson Hounds and the owner of the property. Obviously, as your consultant said, we're seeking site plan approval for the use. What I'd like to do is just confirm for the board, we spent a lot of time preparing the statement of use so we could have a narrative for discussion with the board, so you guys would have a really good understanding in writing what goes on this property and how.
I've read the narrative that you submitted, I'm sure the board did.
Oh,
too.
perfect.
But I'd like you to explain it, and just speak a little bit louder, not so
Certainly.
much for us, for the people watching on
Certainly,
TV.
and also just at the outset, one thing that we think would be incredibly helpful is if the board saw the property as it's operating. We think seeing it would clear up a lot of the questions or identify things that you would want more clarification on as we go through this process. As the consultants noted, the property was formerly a 4-acre zone. Now it's MDR in a 1-acre zone, so we've been zoned down. We're actually more compliant now than we were previously, just from a single-family residential perspective, not a business perspective. Aaron,
How much property do you have there?
we have 40,750 approximate square feet, so almost 41,000 square feet, so an acre. The way this operation is run, and what I'll do is Aaron and I will kind of go back and forth as necessary to help explain it. But essentially what goes on the property is dog care and boarding, and what that looks like is Aaron and his employees, they go out to people's houses and they pick up their dogs and then transport them to the property where they are cared for during the day and then returned at the end of the day. But there is a boarding component where dogs stay over at the property, and so that is a combination operation. Aaron and his staff, as I've detailed in the statement of use, are, in my opinion and in our opinion collectively, a little different than what you would normally encounter in a commercial operation. Aaron and his staff are highly trained, and that's a very critical component to operating a business like this. And I almost look at it like childcare, like a daycare facility for kids. Your employees need to be trained. Oftentimes they're teachers in training, but there's levels like CPR, first aid. Aaron's employees are trained for CPR and dogs. They transport dogs via vehicles, so there's vehicles that they use for that to make sure that transportation is safe. They are present on the site, and essentially where the majority of the operation goes on is in the backyard of this property. And Aaron, what I did was I put some pictures. I wanted the board to be able to get a view of what the property looks like. So as you're heading down Union Valley to Route 6, this is the downhill entrance to the driveway. This is a picture standing at the street, and this is looking up from with Route 6 at your back. So you have a view of the property, the house from the front. And then we just took I only printed off a couple pictures that we have. We took a number of pictures, but I figured you guys seeing the property would be a lot more helpful than me bringing in 50 pictures to show you. But essentially what's gone on is that there's a stone patio that is behind the house. There's operation under the patio. These are pictures of the tents, and then there's a turf surface that Aaron put down, which is pervious. So the rain goes through, it's just
as well as waste.
What's that?
As well as waste.
As well as waste, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
what do you do with the poop?
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Oh, sorry.
You could talk to that.
So we have poop butlers. They're basically poop bins with rakes. So as the dogs poop, we pick it up. They're in garbage bags, so at the end, we tie those garbage bags up. We put it in a main garbage bag, and then they are put in the AAA carting.
And they don't mind picking that up?
They haven't complained yet.
Okay, I'm just asking because,
Yep. No, they
not that
haven't-
your dogs have worms, but dogs do get worms, and I didn't know if that would be an issue, that's all. I didn't know if it was something.
Yeah, it hasn't been an issue that has come up. But again, just so for the record, I live on the property. It is my home. I'm not walking around stepping on poop and smelling poop all day. We keep it very clean, especially on the inside of my house, because again, I do live there. So I make sure that everything is clean. The staff cleans twice a day, morning and in the afternoon, literally because I live there and I want to keep an orderly house.
And the dogs live in the house downstairs also?
Do dogs live there? I have one dog that lives there.
No, I'm saying
For the
if I
boarding,
drop my dog there, would it stay inside your house?
stay inside my house, yes. Upstairs and downstairs, we have it all set up so that they're dogs that can be crated, if they're normally crated at home for sleep or if no one is home. If they are not able to be crated because they were never crate trained, they are left loose. But at the end of the night, crated dogs go in, loose dogs stay out. And it's both in living room and downstairs in the basement, which is fully furnished.
How many dogs stay overnight?
On average, it's anywhere from 6 to 12, and then like this coming week, it's a spring break and Easter holiday, so we definitely do a lot more. It's anywhere in between 20 and 30, depending on size.
So I'm sure I'm sorry, were you done with your presentation?
I
We
was
don't
just
just jump you?
I'd rather you guys get your questions answered than you listen to me just go on, so.
I like the style. So it fluctuates, like you said, and you're 100% right. What's the percentage, you said daycare, right? What's the percentage of people that drop off versus the people that you pick up and you
None.
transport? So 100% company?
100%
Yeah.
So no unfamiliar drivers, no lot of traffic?
Can I speak to that?
You sure can, please.
Okay. That's a critical component to this aspect because what that allows Aaron to do is to regulate noise. It's the people that, if we had a drop-off business, I think we would have met you about 9 years ago. But, you know, kidding aside, the constant vehicle traffic that would normally be associated with the drop-off use would rile up dogs. And by dogs that are there on a daycare basis that you know only have an interaction with Aaron's drivers that come back and forth, provides an opportunity to eliminate residential neighborhood impacts. So that's a real critical component. If it was the other way, first of all, it's Union Valley Road. You don't want 50 cars coming in and out of your driveway every single day. That's the reality of being on that road.
If I may say, I have had clients drop off in very, certain circumstances where they're like, oh, we're driving up to the Berkshires, we're on the way, can we just drop off? And I have said yes, and yeah, they back up into my mailbox, so I say no more. So a lot of my client base is down county. That's because we started in Sleepy Hollow, and it's just always been word of mouth is how I've gotten business. So no one wants to do the drive up to me. So I pretty much do all of that back and forth on 7 days a week.
Didn't your application say you were looking to expand, build another facility in Westchester County?
I'm looking anywhere I can for another facility.
So just to give the board some background, when I first met with Mike Carnazza with regard to the violation, we had our eyes on, Aaron had been negotiating on a piece of property in Yorktown and managed to have the town board incorporate a zoning text amendment to permit boarding dog care or pet care facilities into the zoning. We negotiated a contract for a piece of property that was then rezoned to that. No sooner did we sign a contract did the owner get sued because they had signed a contract with somebody previously and they had a dispute over the termination. So we had basically a 2-year investment in this other piece of property that unfortunately now has fallen through. So what Aaron has done is I've referred him to a commercial real estate agent by the name of Kevin Callahan. Kevin is been in practice for about 30 years as an agent and is excellent with zoning and has now commenced the process of reviewing the zoning codes of all the towns up and down the Taconic to see if we could find a place that would be a more permanent home for the business.
Is the goal to have one business? Would you vacate this one if that came?
It depends on the circumstances. If the other place would have been, in Yorktown, would have been 100% ideal, but we don't know what we're going to find. There's no guarantee, and so what we'd like to do is secure an approval for here. That's all we have in front of us is that if we had certainty, if we were locked in a contract, and we're going to be able to acquire another property, 100% we would be able to have a conversation and make commitments about that. Right now, it's up in the air until we were able to secure someplace else, so we'd like to move forward with this application.
So I think you answered another question of mine. The reason you're here tonight is because of a violation that...
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
How many employees do you usually have on the site at a time? Because you're on septic there, aren't you? You're going from a septic rated for X number of bedrooms to X number of bedrooms and X number of employees at a time.
Right.
That would be something with Department of Health, wouldn't it?
It would, and we're tracking the water currently. Ray Hamill from Bibbo Associates is our engineer. He couldn't be here tonight. He's on spring break. I'm heading away next week. But Ray would speak to the water issue and the septic usage. And as soon as Aaron and I met, I got Ray Hamill involved from Bibbo. We knew we'd need a civil engineer. The first thing Ray did was have Aaron install a water meter so we can start tracking water meter usage, so we could have a conversation about that.
The number of employees on site?
Oh, yeah, we didn't answer that. I'm sorry.
It varies from day to day. The height is Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, where we have 7 to 8. Mondays is 5. Fridays is 5. Saturday is 2, and Sunday is 2.
And you're looking to put up more tents here? Or?
No.
Okay.
No. What we wanted to do was give a worst-case scenario to the board. We figured that would be appropriate. We didn't want to be in a situation, in the event that we were successful in achieving a use variance and site plan approval, you guys have our top, we don't want to be in a situation where Mike drives by one day, sees 15 cars out there, and we're in trouble, and we're right back in front of you.
I've been out there twice. Each time there had to be 6, 7 cars in the driveway at least.
It's from 11 to 3 o'clock, where all the vans are there because we've brought all the dogs back and the employees' vehicles.
Right.
But I could take you through an entire day of how those vehicles come and go, if you'd like.
Unnecessary.
The tents are mainly, for rain coverage, weather coverage, snow coverage. It's also shade for the hotter days in the summer. Basically, I have a 1,900 square foot house. I'm not putting all those dogs in there when it's raining, so I erected the tents so that there would be some coverage so that they're not completely soaked in and costs me about 2-3 hours of drying them off before going home.
What happens in cold weather in the winter?
They're still outside. We'll do a rotation where there's multiple sections. There's multiple sections out into the yard. There's 11 different sections. So each section can host a group, and it's usually anywhere from 12 to 15 dogs in a group. And there'll usually be about 4 to 5 groups. And we just move from section to section depending on what activities we're doing with them. So in the wintertime, when it's cold, just to give them their breaks of being out in the cold, one group will go inside, then they'll come out, the next group will go inside, and it's usually about 30-minute increments, and we just kind of rotate everybody through. It's not 60 dogs all in my house.
Throughout the night, you rotate them?
No, just from the 11 to 3 o'clock hours that we have the daycare running.
And
And at night, we never have 60 dogs at night.
And that is the hours of daycare, 11 to 3?
Those are the hours of the daycare. It's not an all-day affair.
And then during the nighttime, which is critical, we wanted to identify an area on the site plan where dogs would go out at night. And one of the things that we wanted to make sure of, and this was already in effect, so it's kind of helpful. Again, when Aaron and I met each other, and I represent a number of municipalities. I sit with the town boards and planning boards in other towns, and you know, I've been doing this for a number of years now. You know, my immediate concern after meeting Aaron and hearing about the use, you know, I heard about the numbers, and I think I have the same reaction that anybody that doesn't know about dogs does, which is, oh my God, that's a lot. You know, how are we going to explain this? And I think people are going to get put off by these numbers. But you have to see this, and you have to see how it operates to really understand, which is why I encourage everybody to come see it. But, you know, I went around the property and took a look, and you know, the things I wanted to see were, where are the neighbors? What are their angles of view to the property? What can they hear? Is mitigation going to be required? Landscaping, screening, all of the normal activities that you guys would be interested in were the things that I'm interested in, so that we can come here and you not tell us we have to do things we probably already know we should.
So can you answer those questions that you just asked? Where are the neighbors? What's
Yes,
the sound
yeah,
attenuation?
absolutely. Okay, so, you know.
So there are two neighbors, if you.
Perhaps on that
Yeah,
map there?
we'll go to the site plan. You mind if I move this over here?
Sure, please.
Okay, great.
So there's two houses. There's a house here.
One second.
Oh,
I'm just going to move this over. Aaron, just give me 1 second. I'm just going to do, so obviously we have Union Valley Road down here. There is a wetland complex on the left side of the property, and I'm going to call it the west side of the property just for sake of ease. So there are no neighbors on this side of the property. There is a residential street that's past it. There is a house that is over here, and then a house that is over here. And there are no houses across the street. And if you look at an aerial, you'll see Tea Kettle, which is right over here. So in effect, we have two primary neighbors, one to the right and then one to the right and just behind. So again,
I think
here-
Parent Junkyard's on one side, right?
I think so.
I think it is.
Yeah.
Which there's nothing happening there for,
Where is this?
if you're standing on the road looking at their house, to the left of their house, that's the Parent Junkyard. So as you drive around the S-turn and go up the hill, that's where the access point used to be.
That's where the tires used to be, right?
Okay.
Yeah, it's where the tires used to be, and
Clean
it's
up.
where that wall is that they're looking to move, and where there was a illegal dumping, and we put videos up there now, we have cameras up there so people can't dump.
This is more of a question for the consultants, but do these tents count as impervious area? Do we have to be concerned about this because it's DEP watershed? Like offsetting the runoff?
The answer is maybe, and that's up to their engineer to help us decide that, because it depends on what's going on underneath it. So probably not, but, you know, if you talk to the ECB, I mean, I was on the ECB years ago, and we called decks as impervious and pervious at the same time, right? So because of the gaps in the thing, that was, it let water through, but so there was insanity with that at that point in time. But it would be their engineer to determine that.
But I think they explained that they're using that to get the dogs out of the weather. If the weather was coming through it, it wouldn't be it's impervious.
It's impervious in that situation.
And it's a building.
So the water there's gaps in between all the tents, so the water does flow through. The dogs do get wet, but not as wet as if they were just out there.
To Rich's point, to be
Sound attenuation?
So right now, there are no man-made barriers for sound attenuation. There's some woods that exist between the two parcels. So we're not quite sure how the violation came about, if it was a neighbor complaint due to noise. To Aaron's knowledge, there has never been a noise complaint here. So we didn't come in proposing any attenuation for now. That's been the reality of the situation for the time it's been operating. But we noted, we figured it would be the subject of quite a bit of discussion, and we're certainly willing to do what it takes to make sure that the board feels comfortable that even if there isn't something, if there needs to be, we were very open to that conversation.
I'm not sure I heard or understood the answer of, I think Bob asked of, how many dogs are left out overnight, summer, winter, fall?
Zero.
You can have up to 30 dogs in your house?
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry, correct.
So I guess what I'm struggling with is, I understand you have a methodology to, I'll put it in my words, not yours, but to control the barking outside in terms of how you stagger the dogs and what you, how you move them around. And what I'm struggling with is how that if that erodes, that process erodes over time, and there's barking, how do we get our hands around that in the conditions of this to memorialize that that's that's the standard you're going to be held to?
Yeah, it's a difficult question to answer, and as opposed to a pure kennel, where you've got dogs in cages that bark all day long, this is, I'd say to his credit, they're exercising.
I get it, yeah.
Howling and yapping because they're doing stuff all day long, but nevertheless, it's a concern to us, so we have to pay attention to it, and there's really never good sound attenuation to kennels. You can do what you can do, but you'll hear the dogs barking. Because it's not like a generator where it's a routine noise, it's sporadic, and that's the kind of noise that is impactful.
How long, so I was at your place earlier today. The way it looks today, how long does it look like that?
Two, 3 years?
And, I mean, as far as we know, I mean, I don't even know if you guys searched the record, but I mean, have we seen any complaints about noise coming from any neighbors?
I just was saying that Dennis was there for a reason. I drove by many times. I can't tell it's there, so I don't know why he would just stop there unless he got a call. Did he tell you?
I think someone complained about the cars being parked too close to the street.
So something caused it, and that's how it all
And it is
triggered.
kind of around a turn, so you can
It
see
is.
that the cars could bother someone.
Not an ideal spot to
Stretch.
park.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could see that with the cars. I mean, when I got there, you know, some of them are somewhat close to the street.
But those are employees, right? You can control
Employees,
where they park.
yep.
We may impose conditions on where they can park.
Right,
As
of
opposed
course,
to
yeah.
customers where you can't control them.
Right.
One of the things that I was thinking of, because I was struggling with the same question that you had, which was a change in ownership, you know, what happens in the future. And one of the things I was thinking of was possibly that we come back to the board in a period of time to see if the conditions that were placed on the approval were satisfactory. That's one of the methods that's available to the board that, you know, we could certainly agree to, you know, as we get further into the process and see if this is something that we can get through. We would certainly consider that, because it would be written in as a condition of the approval. And, you know, over a period of time, we'd be able to show that, you know, the conditions were in fact successful, or, you know, there hasn't been a problem.
But I guess to repeat, I'm struggling with how we translate your assurance into a condition that we can then measure in the future.
I could write up certainly the operational methodology and have that incorporated into the plan. That's not difficult for us to do. We could certainly do that. There is a methodology to the use. If there wasn't, it would be exactly as you described. It'd be, you know, how many dogs running around and barking. But the rotation, the training, the staff numbers, those are all things that Aaron does that we can articulate and incorporate into our statement of use, which would be part of the approval.
Yeah, the challenge is most of that's very difficult for Mike to enforce. You're not going to count the dogs on the van, everything like that.
Although, you know, I presume if it goes south, it's going to go south because neighbors are complaining about the barking. And then at that
The only
point-
good thing is that the investments made before we gave approval. So it's not like we're giving approval for him to do something, so if we had to take it back, if there was a time frame put on it, that would be, right? I mean, we wouldn't be saying, okay, build it, and then now we're taking that away. He built it before he got approval. So if we took it away, it would be no different than taking it away today.
I do, Mike, and I agree with you. I get the logic.
It's already there, and he came for approval. So if we gave approval and he was going to build all this, I think we would have a hard time taking it away if we gave him approval to build it and then he didn't comply. But if he's already there and we gave it to him and then we took it away, he wouldn't have the argument, well, you let me build it. It was already there.
So there isn't a major structural cost investment. It's not like the guy building the warehouse in the back, right? We're not going to spend $1 million in improvements. But to Mike's point, the only benefit to being in operation is we could actually see what's going on, and that's a critical component. But I get Mike's point.
Well, I mean, one of the representations you made, and it wasn't on the record, obviously, but there's no plans for any further development or.
No, and we will put that 100%. We will absolutely incorporate
So
that.
that would be something, probably a condition of approval.
Right, without a doubt.
You are trying to fit a square peg in a round hole here. I mean,
Kindly.
it's not a permitted use. Yeah, yeah.
A
It's not
dog bone
permitted
shaped,
use.
yes, no, understood, Chairman.
And you gotta look at this hard because we do set a precedent here. right?
It's even a little
60
worse. We just did the zoning and that was not included in there, so that's the other half of it. So,
This is only dogs?
Yes.
Only dogs.
But, it's not, I'd feel more comfortable if it was 20 acres of land as compared to 1 acre of land.
Yeah,
You know?
just if you use the analogy, we have a similar series of provisions for horses. Size of property for stables and so forth, for waste removal for horses. We've anticipated the use and installed regulations for that. We don't have anything similar for this, so we're flying by the seat of our pants. And you will base a decision on commitments that he's making to you that are difficult to enforce and up a road where you really can't see it on a regular basis. So Bob's point, we're only gonna know about it when the neighbors complain. So this is a little tricky in that sense.
One of the things I was thinking, if you guys would, obviously this is the first time we're all here, so we really get to have a conversation about this. Certainly we need a use variance, so we'd have to, go to the zoning board and achieve that. One of the things I was hoping that we could do is, I'm not quite sure at what point that happens. Is it after the planning board is fully satisfied, which would make a lot of sense for us, and then go, or is it go to the, go see how you make out and then come back?
I think it's, in this case, there's a lot of good comments from the consultants. And
Certainly,
the
yeah.
board, And I think you need to work on some of those first
Okay.
before we send it to the zoning.
Yeah, and I'm not asking, for you to.
This is not ready for the zoning board.
we usually like the map to be at least correct with numbers and things like that.
No, I get that
A lot of
point.
Rich's comments, maybe contact the Board of Health, talk to them, do some of the contacts.
Yeah.
Get us letters back, and then the board is usually more comfortable
Yeah,
at that point,
exactly.
getting them moved on.
Great. Yeah, and I wasn't asking for the referral. I just wanted, just so we know, hey, look, what we need to do to get back in front of the planning board and,
Yeah, if you don't already have a copy of the comments.
we do, and thank you.
And then when you're ready to come back to talk to us about it, we feel comfortable that you've made some improvements, just get on our calendars.
Okay.
We meet twice a month.
Okay, fantastic. There's an open invite to come see the property. If you want to see the use and operation, I think it'd be really helpful. We'll give you an idea, especially if we're talking about mitigation.
I've driven around it, but I haven't actually come onto the property. Can I just show up?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that part is really helpful. You could see the activity, while it's going on, so that you have an understanding of it, and I think it'll make our next conversation more beneficial.
Great, okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Minutes.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, that's right.
Rose distributed the minutes of January 9th, 2025. Did anybody review them?
I certainly did, Mr. Chairman. I reviewed them. It had some minor comments which I sent to Rose, and I propose that the board approve the minutes subject to those minor comments.
Second, subject to.
Seconded by John. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Good night, everybody.
If they stay in the-